All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Morgan Cox, and I am one of the Next Generation Scholar Program Coordinators at Maryland Business Roundtable for Education. And we are so excited to welcome you to our third installment of Just for Juniors. Today, we are talking all about the standardized test and how testing is related to college admittance. But before we get started, I want to introduce some of the people here joining us today. First, we have Leonard Webb, who is our Allegheny County coordinator for Next Gen. And then we have two very special guests, Ms. Betsy Greeny from the College Placement Consultant, as well as Leah Smith from the same place. So thank you both for being here today. We are very happy to have you. So we are talking all about the standardized test. So without waiting any longer, I guess we should just jump in with what are the standardized tests? What is it used for?
Well, great to have you guys here. Thanks for hopping on. Here's how I look at the standardized tests, whether you call them the SAT or the ACT. You have lots of tools in your arsenal to show colleges that you are going to be successful in college. The standardized test is one tool in your arsenal. I call it is, for a lot of students, simply how do you perform on one test on one day on either a Wednesday at school or a Saturday morning. That being said, it still has purpose and use for your students as you are preparing for college. But let's look at it through a bigger spectrum. If you have certain tools that can prove you'll be successful in college, what are they? And then how does the SAT prove you have those? So the way I look at college admissions is it's not about one thing or another. Schools want to know that you have certain traits that will make you successful when you're there. How will you be successful when you're there? Well, you're going to be able to handle the college level work. You're going to be able to graduate on time. You're going to contribute positively to the college campus. You have certain goals that college is going to help you meet, and you're going to be wildly successful once you graduate college. Students who have traits such as drive or initiative or intellectual curiosity or contribution to others or diversity of experience, students who can show that they have those traits are students that colleges will believe will be successful on their campus. And you have lots of tools in your arsenal to show those traits. Today, we're going to talk about how do you prove that you will graduate and do well in your classes. Your high school body of work is a big indicator on that. And just bear with me for a moment as I move into how the SAT connects to all of this. So first and foremost, rigor of curriculum is really important, and how you perform in your high school classes is important. That is number one. But everybody has different kind of high school worlds going on right now. Some people are in person, some people are not in person, some people are hybrid. I mean, admissions counselors are like, how do I read this transcript and know that this student's A is an A? Or B really should be an A because that student had a much harder curriculum. So the standardized test is a way, if you choose to use it, to validate your high school transcript and your grades. It doesn't mean it is the only thing that you have in your arsenal to validate your high school transcript and your grades, but it is one. What are some other things real quick? Well, you will have teachers write you academic recommendation letters. If you're taking AP classes, you'll also have your scores on your AP tests. But for today, we are just going to focus on the SAT or the ACT, but let's make sure we take away from this that this is just one tool in your arsenal. Okay, next question, Megan, is?
Leonard, if you want to answer or ask that, go right ahead.
Sure. Other than college admissions, what's the benefit of taking the test and having a score?
Good question. All right. You want schools to bribe you to come. All right. So how do schools bribe you to come? Certain schools want to bribe academic talent to come to their school. What's a bribe? A bribe is called merit scholarship. Merit scholarship doesn't always mean that you're submitting your test scores, but if you have strong grades, rigorous curriculum, and you're validating that with strong SAT scores, certain schools are going to want to throw money at you and bribe you to come. This can be anywhere from the range of $10,000 to $20,000 a year or more. So making sure your school list is diversified for schools that want to bribe you to come is part of the process, but having those SAT scores to make you an attractive student is going to help you that much more in the merit scholarship process.
Awesome. And when it comes to doing those and submitting scores and things like that, what happens when a student is looking at a college and they say that they're test optional?
Good question. So test optional has exploded because not every student has access to the same testing opportunities over the past 12 months. This can mean really good things for students because it gives you choices and it gives you options. All right, so what does test optional mean and how do you find out if a school is test optional? There are two types of schools in the test optional world. One means some students can submit test scores if they want to, other students don't have to. And if you don't submit those scores, the rest of your application is going to take on heavier weight, but you won't be penalized for not submitting those scores. So think about it. If your scores aren't being submitted, then you better make sure your academic recommendation letters are pretty good. You better make sure you're taking rigorous classes and showing good grades in those classes. Your essays that you write really should be heartfelt and make sure they tell who you are and how you're going to be successful on a college campus. So going test optional is an option for an awful lot of schools right now. But just make sure all the other pieces of your application are spit shot perfect. The other thing to remember is you can go to a site called fairtest.org. That site I find is the most current site for you being able to research which schools, as of today, because they actually update it almost every single day, are test optional. So it's a great resource that you can use to see after you get your test scores in, and we'll talk about this in another slide, but after you get your test scores in, then what? Do I stick with it and take another bite at the apple? Or do I say, I'm putting a bow on this and I'm just gonna go test optional? You have both options. The last piece is there are some schools now going test blind. For example, Catholic University, Dickinson. These are schools, great schools that are test blind, which means it doesn't matter what your test scores, they don't look at anybody's. So you can have a test optional school, or you could have a school that is test blind. Either of those would give you the opportunity not to have to submit your scores if you don't feel like they add value to your application.
Okay. If I'm a student and I'm decided that I'm going to take the test, how do I register? And I imagine there's some fees attached. Are there fee waivers for the test?
Good question. So you can take the test one of two ways in the upcoming spring. The first way is if your school offers an SAT school day, then you just need to make sure you contact your guidance office and you are on the roster. Those SAT school days that are coming up are going to be actually on a school day as opposed to a Saturday morning. You go to your high school, you're able to take it in your classrooms. The upcoming days are March 24th, April 13th, and April 27th. So if you don't know if your school is offering an SAT school day, first and foremost, contact your guidance office. Secondly, if you are not participating in an SAT school day, or if you want to take a test on a Saturday morning, then you will register through your username and login in the College Board. So you'll go to collegeboard.org, put in your username and login. There's a little blue box that says My SAT. You'll click on it. It gives you the opportunity then to decide which test date you want to register for and to upload the materials that you need for your admission ticket. Absolutely, yes, certain students can have a waiver for the fee associated with the College Board. Typically, the simplest way to put it is if you are registered for the National School Lunch Program, then you are most likely to be able to achieve a waiver of the fee for the entrance for the exam, and you would contact your high school guidance office for that waiver.
So Once the students registered for the test, what should they be doing in the months leading up to the exam in terms of preparation?
All right, here's my analogy. Let's say you're a soccer player. The only way that you become better is practice, because you have to get that muscle memory so that when it's game day, right, you don't panic. You're like, I've seen this situation before. I know what they're asking me to do, and I'm going to execute. So fairly common advice, but practice, practice, practice is what you want to do. Let's talk about how can you practice. I know students are busy. I know that it is hard to carve out 30 minutes a day, but if a school is looking for students who have grit and perseverance and drive and initiative, this is one way you show it, by getting up that extra 30 minutes or by putting that social media off. This is how you try to carve out time that is time for you so that you can invest into a positive result. Let's talk about practice for a minute. All right, the College Board and Khan Academy are friends, they're partners. And here's why that's important to you, because the Khan Academy program that you can access for free for test prep links up to prior College Board questions. So the College Board feeds old questions to Khan Academy so you can practice for the test. The tools are really simple, they're easy to use, and you can even set up a study schedule. Finally, once you have your PSAT score from junior year, which you all should by now, or you land your first SAT score this spring, you are able to connect your Khan Academy and your College Board account so that the questions fed to you for future practice are smarter. They'll analyze how did you perform on your past tests so that what is being sent to you in your practice is representative of areas of the test that you need more work on. So linking your Khan Academy and your College Board account is a great way to make sure you work smarter, not harder. All right, let's talk about timeline. Here's what I think. If you're actually scheduled for the SAT school day on March 24th, which is coming up rapidly, I would just take a breath, relax, and don't worry about starting practice if you haven't started it yet. My worry would be that you are going to get in kind of over your head and you'll panic. And I think it's probably better just to take it cold, relax, bank a score, see what your next step is after you get that score. Now, on the other side, if you are doing an April SAT school day, or if you are doing an SAT on the May Saturday morning, the June Saturday morning, or the subsequent August Saturday morning, you should start pretty much now. If you're taking the April or the May, you should start now. If you're taking the June, you could begin in early April, which is pretty close to now. If you are taking it in the August timeframe, you could start mid-June. So the general rule of thumb is you should practice about 30 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week, leading 10 weeks before the test starts. And you should be doing about a total of 1,000 practice questions, would on average move the needle about 100 points. So working with Khan Academy, linking to the College Board, setting up your schedule 10 weeks before, just small 30 minutes at a time, 4 or 5 days a week should give you enough confidence that when you walk into that test, you're going to feel, I got this. I've seen the questions. I know what they're going to ask. And I just want you to visualize, how will you feel if you do nothing? And how will you feel if you actually put it in and the time? You cannot cram for this test. This is not something you can do a week before. So commit or don't commit, but do not think that maybe 2 days a week, 3 weeks before the test is going to do it. It's not. You got to put in the work. All right, next question.
As part of that practice, are there books or online resources that a student can get to help them with their
Yeah,
sport?
I would totally, I kind of skipped over that. Sorry, my fault. I would just go with Khan Academy. I really would. I would use their resources. They're free. You probably already have a Khan Academy account. link it to the College Board, and I think that is your best tool and your resource right now.
So when it comes to last minute test tips, so for the students who are taking the exam next week on the 24th, what tips do you have in getting ready for that exam?
Yeah, so let's like pull out the practice part. Let's just talk about getting yourself physically ready for the game. Think about this as getting ready for an athletic event or some kind of visual and performing arts performance. So what do you want to do? Do not study the night before. Go to bed, get some rest. Sleep is your best friend for sure. If possible, actually be physically active the morning before the test. Go for a quick 1 mile run if you can. Believe it or not, what happens when you do that is you're elevating your heart level, you're putting oxygen into your brain, and then when you're actually sitting down at the test, you start decompressing, as opposed to sitting down at the test and starting to get anxious and anxiety. So if it's actually possible, run up and down the steps at your school. Do something that gets yourself physically active. You actually might find a benefit from it. And make sure your body has good fuel. Eat well, right? Don't chug a Coke and a burrito right before the event. Try to get some sustaining food in you that's going to last you through this. All right, some other tips and tricks. Calculator, use a calculator that you're familiar with. It'd be like working with somebody else's computer for a test or driving somebody else's car. Use a calculator that you're familiar with. Make sure it's 100% charged. There's batteries needed, bring extra ones, because you never know if you thought the batteries that you put in were new and they were old. Anything else? 2 pencils, sharpened pencils, a watch, because you can't use your phone. If you want to time yourself, a watch, and give yourself a drink and a snack so that when you get your break, you get a moment just to refuel and re-energize. Anything else here? I think that would probably be best for that. Okay, next question.
Okay, I've practiced, I've studied, I've taken a test, I've gotten my score. What's next?
All righty, breathe first. You've done your best. Remember, you have many, many tools in your arsenal that show that you'll be successful in college. This is just one of them. You will get an email from the College Board that will say your scores are in. Typically, it's 10 days after the test. You'll log into your College Board account, you'll see your scores. At that point, you want to evaluate. You want to evaluate, do I want another bite at the apple? Or am I interested in just putting a bow on this and being done and working on the other tools? Well, how do you know? One of the best resources you can go on to is Big Future on the College Board. You can actually log into collegeboard.org, or you don't even have to log in. Just type in Big Future, put in the name of a school that you're interested in, and you'll be able to see the range of admitted test scores for students. I think once you do that, it will give you an idea of where should I be and what should I be doing. You know, if you're knocking at the door and you're close, don't give up. You know, go back at it, look at your schedule. When will I have time in my schedule? Maybe schedule one more SAT, but then work backwards and work your plan. So understand that the data is out there so that you can understand what the next steps should be. And let's see, I think one more question and then I'm done my time.
So on that note, as we get close, I know we are approaching the end of our time here today, but do either of you have any additional advice for juniors as they begin to prepare for the college application process?
You know, I will keep this simple. Certainly there's a lot of things that you can know about the college process, and there's lots of resources out there. So first off, relax. You know, all students can make an opportunity to get there. I would say that the most important thing you can do in high school is show that you are interested by taking rigorous classes and by doing well in those classes. Getting A and B in courses that are rigorous, as opposed to taking easier classes because you think you want the A. Schools want to see students making progress toward more rigorous curriculum as they get older. This is not the time to take a half schedule. First semester, senior year, they're going to be looking at your schedule and saying, is this student, do they have the grit? Do they have the perseverance? Are they interested in still learning? Or are they pulling the throttle back? And if you're pulling the throttle back first semester senior year by not taking a full schedule or not taking rigorous courses, that is not going to look well in your overall file. So in summary, do what you're supposed to do in terms of taking rigorous courses, doing well in your classes, connecting with your teachers, asking them for help. And I think those are the best things that you can do to prepare yourself for your application process.
Absolutely.
All right. Is that
Awesome.
about, I think that's about it.
I think that's about it. Thank you both for being here today. I really appreciate it, and I hope our students got a lot out of this. That was a ton of information, but it's all super great information that will definitely help our students, our juniors, get ready for this process. It's coming up with each month that we pass. We're getting a little bit closer to the whole process. So thank you both so much for being here, and thank you, Leonard, for being here as well. Make sure to tune in next month for our next topic, which is all about athletics and college athletics. So be sure to tune back in April. And then until next time, I'm Morgan Cox with MBRT, and have a great day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.